evening. Before I call to order, let me silence that real quick. With my warning, silence that, since I haven't called it to order yet. Before we call meeting to order, September 23rd, 2025, regularly scheduled meeting of the Sumner County School Board, I'm going to stand for a moment of silence, followed by a pledge to our flag. Feel free to join me if you'd like. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Call to order the September 23rd, 2025 regular scheduled meeting of the Sumner County School Board. Mr. Johnson, roll call, please.
Yes, sir. All members present, and just remind everybody, Ms. Brennick is attending by phone once we get it set up.
Next item on the agenda is adoption of the regular agenda. Do I have a motion to approve? Second? Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is adoption of the consent agenda. Motion to approve?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, thank you, Ms. Stewart, or Ms. Barnes, one of you? Ms. Stewart, thank you, all right. Any comments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is election of board officers. First item is election of board education chairperson, the 25-26 term. Do I have motion to approve? Do I need to approve? I don't remember this part. Do I need to? Just nominations, all right. We don't have to approve anything yet. Do I have nominations? Yes, Ms. Hayes.
Yes, I nominate Mr. Andy Daniels,
Second.
Chair.
Got a nomination, a second. Any other nominations? All right, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, I guess that's me again. So look forward to working with you guys. Thank you for the opportunity. Next item on the agenda is election of Board of Education Vice Chair. Do I have any nominations? Mr. Evans?
Yes, Ms. Tammy Hayes.
Got Ms. Hayes?
I was going to say Ms. Tammy, second.
Got a second, Ms. Stewart. Any other nominations? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, Ms. Hayes, congratulations, Vice Chair, or Vice Chairwoman, so congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, moving on, next item on the agenda, consideration of minutes from August 19, 2025. Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second? All right, any comments?
Mr. Chairman, I'm just curious. The minutes showed up on my phone, but they're not showing up on the actual computer. And for some reason, they wouldn't show up on my laptop. I could see them on my phone. I just want to point that out. I don't know what's going on there. I was able to read them on my phone. For a minute there, I was thinking that they weren't there. But
Mr. Johnson broke the minutes.
just giving you all a heads up on
All
that.
right, thank you. All right, we'll see if we can't get them loaded. If not, we'll just email them out to everybody. That way we've already got a copy if we can't get it loaded here. So, any other comments? All right, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, recognition hearing of delegations. Do not believe we have any tonight. Mr. Johnson? There is none?
There's none.
All right, well, good. Hey, you saved me some steps there. Thank you, Mr. Lacy. All right, next item on the agenda, matters involving council. No matters involving council tonight. All right, next item on the agenda, comments from the attorney. Do we have any comments from the attorney? Not in council, so having none, the next item on the agenda is reports from the director, who just wandered off. I think we're working on getting Miss Brennick in here. Oh, need the clicker. Floor is yours, Dr. Linford.
All right. Just a second. Mr. Grantsville's getting it switched over. First off, I wanted to say tell everybody I'm sorry I wasn't here last meeting. My granddaughter was born right somewhere around the middle of the meeting, so.
There you go. There she is. She's 2 weeks old today.
Already in White House colors. Looks
No, actually, that's Kentucky. She's they live in Bowling Green.
Same thing.
Full disclosure, that's a Wildcat blue. But anyway, really, thank y'all so much for your prayers and cards and support. I really appreciate it. Mom and baby girl are doing great. Son-in-law still trying to figure out what to do. And then I wanted, on a serious moment, as many of you know, last week we lost Officer Jerry Sollers, and Jerry was just one of the absolute finest human beings. I was there the next morning early before school started, and a mom pulled up to drop off her son, and she was talking to Ken Widener and me, and she said, you know, nobody would probably ever know this, but he had such an impact on my son's life. And I know I was talking to Lieutenant Vines this morning, and he was saying how many have come up and said that Jerry just had a huge impact on their life. We have a law enforcement agency or representatives from 2 or 3 different law agencies in California, Idaho, different places in Tennessee, all that Jerry had worked with over the years. So we want to continue to lift up Officer Sollers in our thoughts and prayers. The funeral will be Saturday at noon at Gallatin High School. We will be closing Gallatin early. Transportation, Tracy did a tremendous job of working out so we can run the buses at 1:30 because there's a lot of setup to do. And so Gallatin will be dismissing at 1:30, and then they'll be getting ready for the funeral on Saturday.
Thank you, Mr. Lake. If I could just make one comment real quick. I think this just goes to all the SROs in our county. You know, I know when we first started bringing SROs into our schools back many years ago, you know, one of the main reasons was, you know, safety of our students. And while that's still the priority of having those individuals on staff, these individuals have become such an integral part of the communities and the fabric of those schools. It's not just the safety and security that they bring. You know, you mentioned, you know, a parent that commented about the impact they have on their student. Oftentimes it's the SRO officer that's the first person to greet the kids in elementary schools and middle schools and high schools. They know them on a first name basis. You know, some of them have dogs, you know, and it's a part of the community, but the things they do behind the scenes that many of us will never know, the being the friend to the student that may not otherwise have a friend, you know, being the person that a student that's struggling can reach out to confidentially. SROs are more than just safety officers in our schools, and I think the legacy that Officer Sollers has is going to be that he's going to be greatly missed by that student body, and it's just a testament to what he gave to that school and what the other SROs give as well. So prayers for his family and the rest of our SRO staff.
I would 100% echo that. I think, and you know, we can't take it for granted. It's not this way everywhere. I think, you know, Sheriff Craddock called me pretty soon after Officer Sollers passed away, and, you know, we were just both brokenhearted because actually Officer Sollers had worked in our transportation department for a while before he went to be an SRO, and, you know, we had a lot of brokenhearted folks because he was such a, and I think you're right, Mr. Daniels, that, I mean, this is what our SROs bring. Safety is important, but I think if you see the way that they work, I got to walk in on a meeting with Katie and her team today and Officer Vines, and you know, they're always thinking like, what can we do better? What can we do next? But the number one thing that they do is they build, like when you think about the first relationship that a child has with a law enforcement officer, it's so positive. And if you surveyed elementary schools, probably the top 30 ranking people would be the SROs. I gotta feel like we got one of our SROs at Nanny Berry is a retired homicide detective, and you know, I think about what his life had to be like before versus now, because I'm telling you, like, I can't imagine you could ever have a bad day because it's like 200 hugs right at the start of the day. But then to have an adult that they can trust, they can go and share everything that's going on, is just so powerful. And ours they've been ranked #1, but they're absolutely continuously #1. All right, we also just wanted to get, I think sometimes we forget to celebrate. We had 4 National Merit semifinalists.
this year. I think our numbers will continue to increase. We've pushed, Ms. Skinner and her team have pushed taking the PSAT more, and we're actually paying for it for juniors to take the PSAT now. So I think that really encourages our students, because this is big, big, big scholarship money for kids if they reach that semifinalist and finalist level. So 2 from Beach High School, 1 from Merrill Hyde Magnet, and then 1 from Middle College High School. All right, and then we just celebrated last week Rock Castle Living History Days. We weren't sure because, as you know, Rock Castle's going through a major renovation. We weren't sure we'd be able to do it there, but if you know Sam and family that run Rock Castle, they really do an amazing job. Sam Gilbert and his wife do an amazing job of operating Rock Castle, bringing in historical actors and everything to share the story of our rich history in Sumner County. So it's really a cool day for our 4th graders. All right, moving on to playground. Thank you for your nominations for the playground committee. I shared this with you in an email last month. The committee that we have is Julie Daniel. She'll be the chairperson. She's director of exceptional students. Lisa Herron, that's our executive director of health services. Dr. John Mann, that's the principal at George Whitten Elementary. Chris Harrison, that's over purchasing. Kim Norfleet is our grant development administrator. Meredith Melvin, coordinated school health. And Terry Herter, coordinated school health. Then we have Jamie Thomas and Joy Hurt that are physical therapists. Carmen Doris is an occupational therapist. Kelly Carver and Chip Connor are from our maintenance department, and they are the ones that are certified in the different playground requirements. And then basically we had nominations that y'all provided. These were the top 3. That committee's already getting a little large. So we felt like 3 parent committee members would be great. So Ms. Courtner, Andy Gilley, and Amy Olson to join our team from the parent side. And you know, above, the school system folks that are listed there are ones that directly either work with playgrounds, they work with student wellness and well-being, or they work with purchasing. And so we wanted those representatives to be there because it just helps us move faster when we see something that we can do. You know, Chris Harrison has such a depth of knowledge of purchasing. He knows how to find contracts like, you know, Ms. Norfleet has already begun researching grants we can apply for. Ms. Herron pointed out early on that we need this team with these people on it to be able to apply for a lot of grants. So really digging in and being able to do that will be helpful for us and for our school system. And I think our 3 parents, parents and community members, you know, we've heard Erin Courtner speak several times. She's very passionate about our playgrounds and has done a tremendous amount of work to dig in. Amy Olson is a parent and has also been, you know, she's not been as vocal as some, but she's also been very engaged in what we're doing. And then Andy Gilley from the city of Hendersonville has been instrumental in the development of these playgrounds and committed to a lot of knowledge from his work at the Hendersonville Parks.
And if you'll give me 1 second, one thing I do want to point out about the committee, like the committee is not the decision-making body, right? So the goal of this committee is to help put the vision in place for us to be able to vote on down the line. So as they report back, as they provide feedback, as they have suggestions, as you have suggestions to feed to the committee and to these parents, all that's going to come back to us to be able to vote on down the line. So it's not like this group's going to be the ones that say, hey, at the end of the day, this is how we're spending the money. We still have the ultimate decision-making authority. And we can provide feedback, input, suggestions all along the way. As you as board members are welcome to go to any of these meetings and attend as you like, as are other community members. It's open meetings. So just know that as far as committee members go, it's not closed. It's not the final voice. That's going to reside with us. And I know some of you are very passionate about, like all of us are, about making sure that we put a plan in place that's not just for 1 or 2 schools, but address this problem, the problem long term for all of our students on all of our campuses. So, sorry, Mr. Leeson.
Yes, sir. My question was, I guess, do we have someone that's heading up the committee, or who?
Yeah, Julie Daniel is the chair. She's over exceptional education, and so she would be. I think what we do is we'd give regular reports as they're meeting and coming back with stuff to the school board, but also I wanted to share we had on Saturday, we had our first meeting with parents and community members that were interested. We had, I think, 8 parents. One of the things that we identified right off the bat is that there's no perfect time to get parents with special needs children there, because if it's during the week and it's after hours, there's 8,000, I mean, as many of you that have kids know, or grandkids, there's 8,000 different things going on with practices and things like that. On Saturdays, sometimes it's hard to get childcare. So what we talked about doing was maintaining the in-person component, but then also adding like a Zoom component, so that if you're at home with your child, you could still watch and participate. We talked through some of that. So it was good learning. We spent quite a bit of time trying to figure out, when is the best time we could meet, and how can we get the most people there so that they can share their voice. It was a really productive, we were booked for 2 hours. I think we went about 2 hours and 20 minutes. It was a really good conversation. I just wanted to kind of highlight some of the different topics that came up. One of the things was trying to ensure that we have parent representatives from each school, because as we know, the needs of each individual student is different, in addition to the needs at each individual school. So being able to have somebody from each school to speak to what their needs is important. Regular meeting with parents, like I like the idea of having a parent advisory team that we can take some of the work from the committee to get feedback from, in addition to the board. I think it gives us, the more eyes and fingerprints we have on it, the better the final product will be. Dream big, move fast, but get it right. I think everybody had a real strong sense of, we want to move as fast as possible, but we also want to get it right, because this is a significant investment. We talked a good bit about trying to build a comprehensive plan so that we know when we're done, like what does a win look like when we're done. And some of that would be lifting our existing playgrounds up to a significantly higher level, while also developing a standard for future schools that we would build, so that it's just not a question when we build a new school, this is the kind of playground it has that's accessible. I think this is an interesting, also I think in that identifying, I think an ability for us to move faster is, being able to identify what can we do as a board, what can we ask the county commission to do, but then what can we do in terms of writing grants, what can we ask for corporate and community funding. If we look for different pools of money, we'll be able to move faster, because we'll just be able to do more. But to be able to ask for those grants and that money, we need to have a pretty thorough plan of where we're headed, because everybody will tell you, I believe, that playgrounds should be more inclusive and accessible. And they say, what do you need? And you say, well, we need a lot. Well, you got to have a little bit more detail than a lot. And that's what we want to work towards. I think this was really one of the more, I really enjoyed this part of the conversation, because when I listened to the parents, I thought there was some really cool conversation about, not like in the past, sometimes we built kind of chopped off playgrounds. You had like a CDC playground or something like that, but talking about making the playground a place where all kids can play together, where kids aren't isolated. And I think too, when I listen to us talk about everything for all kids, one of the things that we're talking about is more unstructured time for kids to play. More ways of playing that stoke creativity and imagination, that provide opportunities. Like one of the things that I thought resounded for me from the parents repeatedly was inclusion and access at the playground, but also opportunities for all of our kids to work together, to play together, to be connected to each other. And I think some of that involves, I thought really, we had a great exchange, because one of the parents said, I know the climber has to be the center of the playground. And I was sitting there thinking, and I thought about this a lot after, it's like, the climber is the center of the playground because that's the most expensive piece on the playground. But I think there's a real question about what the playgrounds of the future look like. Like, do we want more things that are interactive, STEM thing, different, like, not that we don't have equipment, but what kind of equipment do we have that provides those opportunities for kids? And I think that's what's so exciting to hear parents, and even like one parent mentioned, I did not put this on there, I should have, is to spend some time talking to and interviewing our middle school and high school kids that are in our special ed classes that didn't have the ability to access any of this stuff, to hear what they would have liked. I think the biggest tragedy would be for us to spend a lot of money on a piece of equipment and it not be something that kids actually want or want to play on. So I think that's a pretty good way of thinking about this. what should a playground consist of by age and grade band? What kids want in kindergarten, first grade is very different than what they want in 5th grade or higher. And so trying to address what are the different needs based, because if you think about it in elementary school, you got kindergarten or sometimes pre-K all the way through 5th grade. Those are very different needs of what kids want and need. Developing a baseline for all Sumner County playgrounds. I think included in that baseline is having a conversation about maintenance. One of the things that we talked about was historically, it's much like, it reminded me a lot of our athletic facility conversations. Historically, PTOs provided playgrounds, or if you were in a title school, you could use title funds on it, or if you had a larger special ed population, we would try to find money to cover that, to build the base. But what does that mean for ongoing and routine maintenance? Is that the responsibility of the PTO? Because you kind of have title schools that have access to money through their title funds, and you've got schools with strong PTOs that have access, but you've got this dip in the middle where it's hard for them to get and maintain playground equipment. And we need to address that as we're putting together a plan. I think, identifying areas of flexibility based on student needs. So having a baseline, this is more of a future thing, having a baseline of what every playground will have, and then understanding, Ms. Daniel mentioned that like we had a child that moved in the week before school started that was not on our roll, that we had no idea was coming, that had some really profound needs, that presented challenges for things like the playground. That's going to always happen. And as this area becomes more mobile, people moving in from all over the country and world, we're going to have that happen. So if we can get far enough ahead where we're caught up, then we can start thinking about what do we have in reserve. So if we get, something where we have a need, so that child that, where we don't have to wait a year if a child moves in to be able to get some accessibility on the playground for them. I think one thing I would like to push is, this came out, this was more of my reflection after than it was talked about in the meeting, is, it's really easy to get caught up in the legal definitions of accessible, inclusive, all those different things. To me, the definition is what does it mean for all students to be able to enjoy, all student and each student to be able to enjoy the playground? I think that's the question that we need to ask. And then supporting creative, unstructured play. I've kind of already hit on that. I think, if we think about one of the things that I think has been missing the last 15, 20 years, and I won't get on my soapbox about this, but is like my kids' generation did not get the same amount of unstructured play that our generation got. And I think there's a richness in that unstructured time of learning to play together, especially now that we have 40 minutes of recess in elementary every day. This is really important. And then again, new ideas for playgrounds. Like let's not limit ourselves by the way playgrounds have been done historically. Like we don't need necessarily monkey bars, things like that. What do kids actually want?
I got a question about this.
Yeah.
Have we identified like which elementary schools would be the most in most need of this?
Yes, sir. We have, the committee has that. And because I shared a bunch of stuff with y'all before budget. That's probably 75, 80% true, but as the kids move and new kids move in, that changes. So Ms. Daniels put, what's that?
Schools or I guess has the biggest need. Could you share it with us?
Yeah, we can. We can get that next month. Yeah, we can get that. Yes, sir.
Ms. Hayes?
Oh, yes, thank you, Chairman. You might have mentioned this, and forgive me. We got information about the first meeting I wasn't able to attend. Will you regularly give us updates when these meetings are?
Yeah.
Thank you.
What we talked about doing was trying to get maybe every 2 weeks to start.
Okay.
Try to do a meeting. I won't be able to facilitate a meeting every other Saturday, but we'll figure out something so that we can get a facilitator there. But I do think it's important to continue to to me, the biggest takeaway is it's what we believe about everything. Is if we can sit around a table and talk about things 99% of the time, we can work out peaceably and to the betterment of our students. Like once we started talking, everybody was so excited to talk about what our kids, and there were some real truthful things shared about feeling, like our child is not getting what they need, and that's fair. And I appreciate parents for advocating for their children, but we only get better by learning how to listen to each other. And I was so encouraged when I left that meeting because we really had if you think about how often we get to have a great 2.5-hour conversation about something that's going to be beneficial for all of our kids. Very exciting.
Mr. Lancaster?
Yeah, the new early learning center over here that it has a playground that was designed with this in mind to a certain extent, with the surface area and everything else. Could we, before one of these next meetings happen, offer a day or even on a weekend where some parents could come in, like a community day, that they could come in and test the surface,
Yeah.
test the, some of that equipment, stuff like that, where they can actually, because I don't think a lot of people know that that's over there. I know I've had people ask me, where is this, when we posted pictures of that. Can we even, and I'm like, well, you can't go during,
Yeah.
the school day and
Yeah.
school hours, but,
Yeah, we can, I think we can absolutely do that. I think we
just
got,
as a,
We got
almost
samples.
hands-on example
Yeah.
of like, hey, this is good, this is not, because I don't know, and I don't think any of us would know from an equipment or a surface standpoint, like
Yeah.
what works and what doesn't. So
we got a sample size of one right now on the material on the ground that's hard to navigate on a wheelchair. I was hoping that it would be easier with the turf, but I mean, the good news is if we put something down on it, we'd want to run, we're going to get a couple people to try it out and see, but that would be something where we could put, like, that might just be a matter of something of putting something on there, because what you won't have on the turf is the problem that we have with mulch, which is it gets up on top of the mats. It's hard to, the one thing I can tell you, and this is over a decade of doing this, mulch is widely hated everywhere. Right? It gets on the mats. It makes it hard for children in wheelchairs or with mobility issues to navigate. You have to have somebody constantly try to blow it off and clean it off. It's just it's a problem. We talked to somebody had asked about what's the history of the mulch. It's like, because we had, somebody asked it again at the parent meeting, and it was because 10, 15 years ago, the issue became falling and having a soft enough landing spot so the kids didn't break bones. Mulch provided that, but then it created, my first encounter at the central office with mulch was the Station Camp Elementary playground used to have this black mulch that would stain anything. And there was an entire series of Facebook posts on the Creekside Facebook page back then dedicated to how much everybody hated the black mulch. But now, more seriously, I think is the limitations that it causes. But I mean, at the same time, falling is also a significant, it was a great question somebody asked, like, why did this used to not happen in playgrounds? I was like, because in the 70s and 80s, no one was really concerned if you fell off a piece of playground equipment. Now we have significantly better safety standards for playgrounds. And so, it's balancing the fall, and that's going to be the problem with any surface material, is balancing the need for something that breaks a child's fall without them getting hurt, while also being, supporting children that are mobility impaired.
Sayes, do you have another comment?
No, sir, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry.
I do, two other comments just real quick is again, remember, we committed some funding to the playgrounds. The county commission also stepped up and considered, committed some funding. I mentioned this a couple times. I looked at that as seed money. Like that's to get us started, right? That's not the end of what we want to build. That may be, Mr. Lacy, where we look at, which schools have the most students, and maybe that's where we have to start. But then the plan will also allow us to get to the other campuses as well as we continue to build that out. Other thing I'll mention is, like, to your point about playgrounds in the 70s and 80s, we got third-degree burns going down the metal rocket slide, I think. And I think the goal was to see how far you could throw somebody off, the merry-go-round. You got going as fast as you could and threw kids. So, it's part of our learning experience. I think we gave awards. We might have done something with that with field days. So, safety standards have changed a little bit. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I think just a diversity of activities, because we had a good conversation, because the number one activity in elementary school now is Gaga ball, and the Gaga ball pit. But one parent pointed out, my son will not like having balls thrown his way. So you have to have a diversity of options so that everybody can find the thing that they like to do.
Red Rover's probably not good anymore either.
Red Rover is forever banned,
Mr. King.
unless you're going to the WWE.
Yeah. Mr.
Yeah,
King.
when I was in elementary school, we played a game called Spread Eagle, and I won't go into detail what that entailed. So my question, one question I have is, okay, so the county commission committed some money. It was like, great, and then a month went by. now what do we do? Like, I know there's gonna have to be some kind of MOU or, you know, mutual understanding or contract where they get the money to us. And when would that have to kind of get in motion?
My understanding is we would just have to have our purchasing people get into. We've done this before. We've typically paid for schools this way. We used to run a lot of capital projects on the commission side. So, you know, I think all we have to do, I think it was set up in such a way, like if we send the purchasing through and it meets their requirements and ours are pretty stringent, so it's usually going to meet both, then it should go pretty quickly, I would think. I mean, let me say, like, by wanting to get it right does not mean that we move slow, because the money that we have allocated needs to be spent this year. You know, but at the same time, like, if we're going to be changing the surface of a playground, that's something that has to take place at a break, because you can't obviously change the surface area of a playground while you have kids that still need to use the playground. So there's staging of when you can do the work, and that's going to be a lot of the work of the committee. There's a lot of, you know, detailed tenacity work that the committee will be doing. I do think that it's sped up tremendously, though, by having all the people that are decision makers in that process at the table at the committee meeting. Like, you're not doing part of it and then going to purchasing and saying, well, you can't purchase that because of this, this, and this, or that's not capital, that's this. And then we have to move money, we do all this stuff. Like, you got everybody right there. We should be able to move faster there.
Okay.
Just one more question. Have the parents been, that are on the committee, have they been notified?
They will be. I talked to Mr. Gilly. Ms. Courtner and I talked a little bit this weekend, but we'll get in touch. I would feel confident Ms. Courtner and Amy Olson will be very much interested in serving. But Ms. Daniel will be reaching out to them tomorrow. All right, let me give you an update on the Upper Station Camp damage update. In the building of the sewer, I don't know if y'all remember the sewer at Liberty Creek. It took a little while. But the vendor that built that, remember that you can only pick off a list of who you can use to do the sewer. And the vendor moved glacially. So glacially that we negotiated a settlement with them to avoid court, where we paid them significantly less for the sewer project. They finished it and moved on. Here is where I think we are, and we should hopefully by our October meeting have the hard numbers. Here's the choice that I think we'll end up having to make at the school board, and I'll tell you what I think I'm going to recommend, but I want to see the final numbers before we make a final recommendation. I don't envision a scenario where that vendor comes back. This is under warranty. The vendor should come back and fix it, but I don't see a scenario where they're going to come back. So I think our options would be to sue that vendor and ask them to come back and fix it to meet their warranted obligation, or we pay for it. Now, we've been negotiating with White House Utility District, and they're willing to split the cost on it, but they've got to follow their purchasing protocols, so they are the ones that are going to get us an estimate of what the cost would be to fix it. And then probably the best course for the board is going to be for us just to split it with White House Utility District, because I think it would be less money that way than going to court. And I think we could be in court for quite a while, and there would be nothing that would prevent that vendor from, you know, declaring bankruptcy, closing down, and then we're in the same spot. I would lean towards us just doing it, because I think that's better for the neighbors that live along that way to get their land repaired. That would be my recommendation, but we're not quite there yet, because we got to get the bids done and get the actual hard numbers for y'all to be able to see. So that would be my recommendation there.
Mr. King?
Yeah, so that's great news. I think, you know, some of those residents, they're willing to wait, but they hadn't heard anything, and so
Yeah.
it was kind of like this black hole. And I think this is great for them. They're very pleased to hear this, and yeah, that's my thought as well. It's like, you know, we could wait on this vendor, and they sound like they have just kind of split town, and they're not returning correspondence, and in the meantime, these residents are, you know, their land is flooded and all that. So I think that's really good. I appreciate you guys working on that and getting that happening. expand. Yeah. great.
Yeah, and I think it's frustrating on everybody because you have to go through the process to try to notify the vendor. But we have to be good stewards of the money. You have to go through that process, but it's really frustrating when it's your land. So we'll try to move as quickly as we can to make it right. I mean, that would be my recommendation. All right. Reserve funds delay. We had last week at the county commission. It was a little bit of an unusual meeting. We had about 5 or 6 people out at the commission. So remember at the commission, for a resolution to pass, it has to have 13 votes because 13 is 50%, or 50% plus 1 of the sitting body. So it doesn't matter if 18 people are there, it's not 9 votes or 10 votes to pass something, it's still 13. So we got held up because our resolution to move our reserves over technically passed by a vote of 11-6, but it required 13 votes. So we will be requesting a vote on the resolution in October to pass the commission then. I just wanted to give you in that resolution what was held up as a result of it not being approved is 50 AEDs that are end of service. We have 50 AED devices in our schools that are at end of service. If they stop working, we don't have a replacement. We try to rotate those out. These are the 50 that we're trying to rotate out. We have a number that are we had some that were trying to get climate controlled outdoor AED units because the bitter cold this winter knocked some of our AEDs out when we checked them. They weren't functional because of the weather. Thankfully to our nursing team, they stay on top of the AEDs and check them routinely to make sure that they're in good working order. And so we've identified this as a huge need. So this is a huge need. Donations to the Family Resource Center that have come in. Donations to support homeless students in the county. Merrill Hyde Magnet School Unity Program, drug-free schools. We take money that we get from providing occupational therapy and physical therapy. It goes back in to expand and provide more service for our special education students. That's frozen currently. And then Meta robotics grants that came to robotics grants from Meta that came to us to build out our STEM lending library. A lot of our schools have invested significantly in STEM projects, but not everybody has the same stuff, so we try to build out some stuff here that Ms. Wade can take to the different schools and allow them to borrow. So all that is frozen right now. So it will require commission approval for us to be able to utilize these funds. Just wanted to give you a heads up on that. Initially, Ms. Brown's safety grant was also held up. That covered things like cameras and doors, but the commission reconsidered and got 13 votes on that one, so it passed. Just want to give you an update on that. So hopefully nothing will happen to our AEDs in the next month, but we'll work as quickly as we can to get that passed.
Did they state why they didn't approve?
I'm not sure, Mr. Lacey. I didn't watch the comments on the meeting.
Mr. King?
Yeah, I talked to a few commissioners. They had questions about this appropriation, and once I explained it to them, they were like, "Oh, well, wish we could have known about that." But so I'm pretty confident it will pass. However, are these AEDs? Are they dysfunctional? Are they not working? Like, if they're not working, is there some way we can do something in-house to cover that expense?
They're functional right now. We're trying, but they're end of service, so they're no longer making those units. So anything that goes out or goes wrong, and because they're about 12 years old, 10 to 12 years old, seems like about once a month we're having one, go out, and there's just no repair for it at this point.
So if one goes out, can we cover the cost somehow out of some other line?
I mean, if one does, I can cover the cost, but certainly 50. I can't without my revenue being amended.
Okay. Can you just keep us updated if we lose enough of these that there's a risk of some kind that we call a special call meeting, approve make some kind of adjustment to the budget or whatever.
Yeah, I think the issue would be twofold. One would be actually being able to get them. Two is like we already had a bid on this, so they're ready to roll. I just, hopefully the bid will hold so we don't have to redo that process. So I think we're good there for right now.
Okay.
We just don't need to stretch out a couple months.
Mr. Lancaster?
So the AEDs that we approved in tonight's bids and purchases, is that these or is that some different?
That's these.
That's-
This was already on.
So
yeah.
that was the grant for the funding of these, right? Or the.
It was an amendment, yeah.
The amendment, the budget amendment, okay.
So we can approve the purchase, and that will speed it up. Once the money is approved, then we can go ahead and purchase.
Right.
Instead of like waiting and having to repeat this next month. All right.
I guess I'll just say, there's several other things on the list. I don't want to make, if there's something else that's equally as dire that we need to have, I mean, there's these other things, let us know. I mean,
Yeah.
but that was the one thing that stood out to me, so.
Okay. All right. If you saw my video last night, class grade wars. I am thoroughly 110% opposed to class and grade wars. I know they've been going on for decades. Y'all, it always ends up with kids making mistakes and ending up getting prosecuted. I think there's a very real calculus of if you put one boy, he's fairly intelligent. If you put 5 boys together, their collective intelligence drops. Love them all. But, every year these class and grade wars seem to escalate, and we've had a number of kids over the last couple of years arrested. Usually it's not a school thing. I tried to make that clear in the video. It's not something where you're going to be punished at school. It is something where you're probably going to be, like the city of Gallatin, city of Hendersonville both made it very clear. If you get arrested for class 4 pranks, they are going to charge you. And we've had several kids charged. It's not, we've all thrown toilet paper. Almost all of us have thrown toilet paper in trees and stuff like that. They're not charging people typically for stuff like that. It's like, we've had some damage to vehicles and windows and doors and stuff. And it worries me because, we have a lot of people that have moved in that aren't from here that don't know the value of, I don't think there's any value, but they don't have the tradition of this stuff. And I am afraid. I've been in places, when I started teaching, I lived in Marietta, Georgia, and we had 3 cheerleaders that were rolling a yard, and a dad jumped out and chased them. They were both vehicles going over 100 miles an hour. The 3 girls were killed in a car wreck. The dad was charged, went to prison. It's just, we put ourselves in a place. That's an extreme, but we put ourselves in a place where we open ourselves up to kids not doing the right thing or being harmed. So that's why I made that video. The city of Gallatin released something yesterday. The city of Hendersonville did as well, and we thought we try to work together with our local law enforcement and sometimes, I don't know if it was this way when y'all grew up, sometimes parents don't know everything going on with their kids. And we just, part of our job is to let parents know when we see something like this. All right, and last, this is really exciting. I want to thank Ms. Herron and Kayla Alexander from her team. This was such a wonderful idea that they had that we started about 18 months ago, Ms. Herron, I think. I want to thank Mr. Presnell and his team because they helped us by working with Sumner Regional to get something great worked out for the lease. So basically, if you're in the city of Portland, we have a lot of families that do shift work, and it's hard for them to get off work to take their kids to the doctor. And so if they get strep or something, a lot of times they miss 5 or 6 days of school. It adds to our chronic absenteeism, it affects student grades, and they're not getting as high a quality of medical care as they can. So, our one-to-one clinics for our employees have been hugely successful. We've never offered care for our students directly. We're still not offering care directly. This is through High Point or Sumner Physician Practices. But Ms. Herron and Ms. Alexander put together a proposal really as a pilot, because I think this would be something, if it goes well, which I suspect it will, this would be something that I think we could do in different places in the county, because I think it's a win-win for the healthcare providers and for us. So basically, in a nutshell, what we're doing is we're proposing that we take a classroom at J.W. Wiseman in Portland, and we convert that into a medical clinic. High Point Health, Sumner, with Ascension and St. Thomas, what we used to call Sumner Regional, they would provide the capital money to build out the space. They would then pay us $19,057.50 a year in lease. That money would then be put into a pot to provide for the medical expenses for a child that utilized the clinic that couldn't afford it. They wanted to make sure that kids could access the clinic for free if they needed, so they could receive the care that they needed. I believe that they will be able to move over around the Portland cluster to see kids at the various schools. Now understand, like, this is not something that happens without parental approval. This very much would require parental approval. Like, no one will go into that clinic. It would violate state and federal law. It would violate board policy if we did that. So this is something that parents would ask for and request. But it does provide a support for parents that don't have the ability to take off work all the time to take their kids to the doctor. Really appreciative. It's one of the funniest things I've seen. Miss Herron, Miss Alexander put together quite an impressive slide deck, weighing out the merits and the need in the community. And Rod Harkleroad, the CEO there, listened for about 15 seconds and said, "I'm in. Let's do this." And we put a lot of work over the last 18 months into getting this ready to move forward, and I think it's really great for the city of Portland. I think it's a model for the rest of the county. I think it's a model for the state of Tennessee when we think about the state of rural health care. You have a lot of school buildings with space and healthcare providers that need an ability to deliver services.
Mr. Evans?
Yeah, two things. One, what's the timeline for this kind of happening, being built out and starting? That'd be my first thing. And then two, how quickly are we going to get this information on our website? I just feel like there's a lot here that needs to be very clear for our parents and also our citizens. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, timeline wise.
We're hoping the timeline is going to be, the build out will start immediately once you all approve the lease. And then we would like to get everything in line so we can market it this summer, start educating the families, because we really don't need to miss the summer window. So we want to start maybe soft opening this summer and letting our families know. And it won't just be for students, it will be for Portland families just in general. The fund will cover underinsured or uninsured student visits, but it will serve the whole community. In '24, it was designated as a healthcare desert, and we felt that there was a lack of healthcare there even prior to that, but it was officially designated.
Yeah, I feel like that's just the way you just explained it to me. I just feel like there's gonna be not confusion, but making sure we're really clear that like you don't have to be. This is for the families, not just the student. Yeah, X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, it's just going to be a healthcare provider that is renting space in our building.
Ms. Sue?
So it is staffed by Ascension.
It is.
So there, and it is open. What are the hours going to be on it? Is it gonna
We
be
don't have that worked out yet. Once we get the lease and the build out, we'll work out the details. There's still some logistics we've got to work out. But currently the plan is that they will staff with one of their nurse practitioners or providers, and then they will likely hire one of my nurse practitioners.
Okay.
Because she's familiar with the school and the community. So that's currently the plan, and we have some things to finalize there.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Lancaster?
So, we'll still have a regular school nurse here. This is completely separate from that.
Completely separate.
Okay. Trying to go through the list of questions I had in my head when I was listening to this. It would be open to families, so it would be like a pediatric clinic or anybody?
It would be just a family provider.
Okay. So our teachers would be able to use, like if a teacher was sick, would they be able to go to it?
I mean, theoretically, I think they could, but it would make more sense for them to use one-to-one that's also up there, up in Portland.
And then the other thing, I don't think, this is maybe something to think about if this thing takes off and does well, is I'm not aware of an urgent care or an after hours available anywhere in that area, simply from another job I have that builds in healthcare, and that's one thing I've tried to preach on, is that Sumner County has no after hours care for families, outside of.
And I agree. There are a few areas of the county that are especially, lacking in those services, and Portland being the primary one we identified first, but we do have some others, so we really hope this pilot's successful. And we could potentially do this in some other areas of need.
I think Metro has something similar to this, don't they? Do they have? I know they have the MNPS clinics, which may be just for employees.
I think that's similar to our one-to-one
Okay.
clinics.
All right, thank you.
Ms. Barnes?
Yes, I think it's coming from industry. I've seen this work where you bring clinic on site, can be very beneficial. But talking about those after hours, so it would be like extended after hours that this would be available?
We're not clear on all of the hours yet. That's something that we'll work with High Point on, and they'll likely set their hours, but we definitely want it to be available as much as possible.
Okay.
I think that one of the practitioners will primarily be there for school hours.
Right.
And then likely the other one will be there more extended hours, is what we've discussed so far.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I'm excited about this for the community and anxious to hear more.
Well, about 70% of the families, when we dug into the data and did some studies, are employed in manufacturing settings, which make it really, really difficult to get off in time to get to a physician. And, you know, you don't want to get in trouble at work because you potentially are on a shift work that's really important to be there. So we hope this is going to alleviate some strain for the families.
Absolutely. And it'll be, and I'm sure you're already thinking about this, but to start watching that data with absenteeism,
Yeah.
I think you'll see that.
That's definitely our hope.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mr. King?
Yeah, so this is a 1,089 square foot classroom inside an already existing school.
Yes.
So they're going to renovate that space, incur the cost for that, right?
Yes.
Okay, so as far as maintenance goes, obviously we would, we would be paying the maintenance on that space anyway if it was used as a classroom. But with medical equipment and other things, they're are they paying anything towards like a stipend or something towards the maintenance cost at all, or are we incurring all the costs for the maintenance of that? Like,
Well, I mean, that would be what the lease payment is.
the lease payment. So is the lease payment, that's going to, part of that lease payment is going to go towards some maintenance and help pay for students, or what's the plan?
My
there?
recommendation is it's 1,000 square feet. When we have over 6 million square feet of heated and cooled space, the cost of that would be so minuscule. It'd be better off to take this lease money and put it in there to cover the health needs of the
Okay.
kids and families. That's the wish of High Point. That's their recommendation, and I think that makes that's the partnership aspect of it. I think they would take care of their medical equipment.
Absolutely. I was going to mention, they will maintain anything within that 1,089
Okay.
square feet. So,
They have to bring in some specialty equipment
Yeah.
To run a medical clinic that we don't
Okay.
have in a regular school.
they also are using their own servers and, they're not going to be going through Sumner County schools for their electronic needs either.
And just to that point, there's likely cleaning products that our staff might not have access to or use regularly that would be needed inside that facility, just from a sanitation standpoint too. So, Ms. Hayes?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. This is phenomenal. With addressing the fact that these people are shift workers and manufacturing, I would hope that they would have the hours that are going to be easily accessible for these families. It might not be a 24-hour
Right.
clinic, but you're going to have extended before, early morning.
Hopefully.
Yes.
Right. And also, the idea is if a parent gives permission and they want their student treated, they are going to, when they have to pick say their student is sick, when they have to pick them up, the treatment's already happened, the prescription's already called in, there's no stops. There's pick the child up, pick your prescription up, and it's done. So it's really going to, the care is going to happen ideally, you know, within those school hours, and there is no potential other stops for the family to make.
Did you all have a model, or has someone else done this? Not that your committee could not have come up with this brilliant idea, but was there something that you were modeling after?
I had heard of some, and I went to some conferences, and we were trying to get creative with chronic absenteeism in that area. And so we went and visited several different models that weren't exactly what we were wanting, but gave us some good ideas.
Yeah, she's humble. She pretty much developed this. She entertained. And they took it and extended existing models. But if you see the data that they pulled to come up with the idea, it's really a testament, not just to their ability to problem solve and develop innovative solutions, but to do that with a heart for a group of kids that are underserved in the county. That's the most impressive thing for me.
Well done.
Very good. One thing I did want to mention, because based on your presentation on the health services, one of the things that you talked about last week or a couple weeks ago was the vision testing, the hearing test that we do, sometimes the challenge that families have to get their kids to the optometrist or the hearing doctor. I don't know the official name, apologize for that. The challenge with, that they got tested, but now we need to get our prescription for glasses. Now we need to get, if we need to get fitted for some type of hearing device. That's that next step. I know we've got within some of our nursing medical programs that our schools offer where our students are involved in some of the testing and some of the eye tests, but when we're looking at offering a health service or something like this, have we looked at seeing if there's partnerships to where we could do similar things with the hearing tests and the eye tests where they could get fitted in the schools, and where as opposed to a parent have to take them to another location to go through it again. We know they have trouble with their eyesight.
Sure.
But, is that something that we're thinking about or looking at, or maybe trying to find a way down the road to incorporate that into some of the things we're doing, again, to make sure that those kids that need these services can get those services even when there's challenges on the family side?
We've done some really creative things to get students to the providers that they need to be at. Of course, get the student and the parent if they lack transportation, but it obviously would be much easier if we could have it all done in-house. So we're hoping that this partnership with Sumner Regional or High Point, we're hoping that this is just the beginning.
Awesome. Thank you. Mr. King.
Yeah, just some other clarification. So I'm reading on here, it talks about, this is item, this is page 2, I guess, of the lease agreement. Item C, it just talks about, during the term of the lease, landlord agrees to accept from tenant as base rent up to the total amount of the lease, $19,000 per year. The uncollectible net receivable amounts received from providing care to uninsured patients on the premises, charity care. In the event that the tenant does not provide charity care during the lease, tenant shall pay to the landlord as base rent the agreed upon monetary payment identified in Section 3. What if the cost? So are they contributing like is this like a charitable? Are they contributing more? Like, what if the cost of providing care to uninsured patients exceeds the $19,000? Are they kicking in like charitable funds, or are we paying like or we're just going to reimburse $19,000 towards providing uninsured care?
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
That
So
will be our
if the
limit.
cost of that care exceeds that, that's in their world.
Correct.
Okay.
They have quite a bit of funding for
Okay.
charitable care.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I'm sorry to jump
Go
up.
ahead.
That's really in my wheelhouse now because, one thing hospitals really want to do is always show how charitable they are. So there are, hospital has a threshold or a guideline or a charity care policy. So if that patient meets that policy, then they're going to claim that person as charity. What it sounds like what they're going to do is if a patient can't qualify for charity under the hospital's charity policy, but is still uninsured and deemed to be, need help with that, they would use these funds to go towards that. We do the same, we have grants and things that people have donated money for grants for indigent care or charity care, but you would never use those on a patient that already qualifies for charity care, because that's something that we report, our hospitals report to the state and to the federal government and get, different reimbursement payments on and stuff like that. So.
And I'll say that we talked with numerous different partners, potential partners, until we found what we felt like was the right partner for this. And we felt like Sumner Regional and High Point were really the right partners for this project, because we had to have someone that was willing to go into something without an idea of making, anything from it, just completely charitable, basically. So we talked with several partners and ended up with Sumner Regional. We felt like it was the right choice.
All right. Moving on, next item on the agenda under new business. First item is discussion or action regarding a resolution declaring October 14th as Charlie Kirk Day of Peaceful Discourse. Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Do I have a second? Second. Comments, Mr. Lacy?
Yes, sir. I'd like to make a small amendment.
Okay.
I believe in compromising. It's similar, but it's a lot different than my original, what I presented for the resolution. I would like, if we could, just to make some small changes to honor Charlie Kirk's life. For instance, where it says Mr. Kirk, I think it would be more respectful to say Charlie Kirk. Or anywhere it says Mr. Kirk, say Charlie Kirk. And also at the very beginning where it says Charlie Kirk was a champion of free speech, civil dialogue, I would like to add of love, great courage, and extraordinary faith. And in the fourth paragraph, whereas Mr. Kirk's life's work has contributed to strengthening American families and public discourse. So add in American families. And down at the end, just to be similar with the county commissions, I would like to, the last paragraph where it says October 14th, 2025, I would like to add to erase 2025 and just say of each year. And that's the only changes I would like to make. And I appreciate the director helping me come up with a compromise that we could honor somebody like Charlie Kirk. He was truly a great man, a great person for our country. And he, like I said, he was just an incredible person that his life was taken way too soon.
I've got an amendment.
Yes, sir.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Got a second? Comments?
I just wanted to
Ms. King?
clarification. So first paragraph, so we're going to change Mr. to Charlie.
Anywhere in the
Anywhere
document.
document. Okay. And then the first line, whereas Charlie Kirk was a champion of free speech, civil dialogue, we're taking out and faith, but we're going to say love, great courage, and extraordinary faith. Okay. And then third paragraph, whereas Charlie Kirk's life work has contributed to strengthening American families, then public discourse. Okay. And then on the last paragraph, it proclaims that October 14th, 2025 of each year.
And erase 2025 and put of each year.
Oh, okay. October 4th of each year. Okay, thanks.
Any other comments? All right, this is, yes.
Ms. Brennick would like to make a comment.
All right, and remember, this is on the amendment. Ms. Brennick?
Yes, I just am, first of all, let me say, it is always evil and wrong when someone is murdered, particularly for their words. But I'm curious, just from a historical perspective, having not been on the board very long, have we ever done anything like this in the past to honor someone's life who was cut short? And just at all, ever?
Matt, is next there.
I guess that's me to answer. I'd actually have to go back and look at our minutes. We've done several resolutions to honor different citizens from Sumner County. I don't know that I can remember one where we specifically recognize someone for a murder, but we also haven't really had that many instances of it either. So I'd have to research that.
Yeah, I'm curious too, just from other perspective, like I think of the life that we just honored earlier tonight, and the one that hit pretty close to home around school shootings in the past, and I don't remember hearing those, so I'm just curious about that.
Mr. Lacy?
I mean, I would say that Charlie Kirk wasn't just someone, he was a very popular political figure. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have the president that we have now in the White House. He was just an absolutely amazing human being that loved everybody. And I would say that he was a martyr for his faith. I don't think he was just anyone. All life is precious. We don't want to see anybody lose their life. But the way that he was taken out made his assassination, his martyr, extraordinary. But anytime somebody dies, it's unfortunate and very sad.
All right, any more comments? All right, this is the vote on the amendment. I'm sorry, Mr. King.
Yeah, I don't know if that comment or what she's saying is relevant to the amendment, but I mean, it'd be relevant to the main motion, so I'll save my comment on that.
Okay, yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, so again, this is on the amendment.
Right.
All right, any more comments? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Now we're back on the main motion. Any comments?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say, this was a political assassination. We've not had one like this in, golly, I heard one pundit say over 50 years. Yes, there's been school shootings and things like that, but this was a political assassination. So I mean, whatever your opinion is of that, I'll just say that. I do think we have people in the audience. I think someone should read the resolution before we vote on it, just so that people can hear what we're doing.
Mr. Johnson?
With the changes.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna need Mr. Lacy's help to track the changes. So, Mr. Lacy, if you will correct me when I get to the parts that we're adding in, because I have a loose notes on that, but I'm definitely gonna miss that spot. So I'll ask you that you tag in when we get there. A resolution of the Sumner County Board of Education declaring October 14th as Charlie Kirk Day of Peaceful Discourse in Sumner County, Tennessee. Whereas Charlie Kirk was a champion of free speech, civil dialogue, and faith. Whereas Charlie Kirk consistently promoted the values of...
After civil dialogue, it would be comma, love, comma, great courage, comma, and extraordinary faith.
After civil dialogue, extraordinary faith. Okay. So whereas Charlie Kirk consistently promoted the values of individual liberty, open debate, the importance of civic engagement, and the defense of constitutional principles, whereas Charlie Kirk was recognized as one of the leading voices among young leaders in the United States, creating opportunities for civic education, fostering youth leadership, and promoting principles of liberty and democracy across the United States, whereas Charlie Kirk's life's work has contributed to strengthening public discourse, defending constitutional principles, and fostering active citizenship, and whereas Charlie Kirk's life was tragically cut short
by an assassin's bullet on September 10th, 2025, calling all Americans to step back, reflect, and remember what is most important as Americans. Whereas the First Amendment of the United States Constitution says Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. Whereas the United States has experienced violence over the course of our history aimed at denying our great nation leadership and dividing us as a people. Whereas in response to these violence acts, the American people choose greater commitment to public discourse, patriotic commitment, and the love of others, refusing the pathway of violence, division, and hatred. Now, therefore, the Sumner County Board of Education proclaims October 14th, 2025 as Charlie Kirk Day of Peaceful Civic Discourse. The Sumner County Board of Education reaffirms each individual right to freedom of speech, the freedom of assemblance together, and the ability to do so safely without the harm or acts of violence. Sumner County Board of Education condemns all political and faith-based acts of violence as cowardice that seeks to undermine and destroy our union and inalienable rights. Sumner County Board of Education commits to developing students who understand the commitment of free speech, leadership, and civic commitment that have defined and will continue to define us as a nation. The Sumner County Board of Education commits to practicing forgiveness, identifying common ground, and working together over disharmony and disunion. The Sumner County Board of Education recognizes Charlie Kirk for his contributions to civic education and public service and proclaims that October 14th, 2025 shall be the Sumner County Schools. Oh yeah, that's the tag. That October 14th of each year shall be the Sumner County Schools Charlie Kirk Day of Peaceful Discourse. Sumner County Schools students will on this day reflect on the inalienable rights given to each American in the Bill of Rights and how we can all work together to live out and celebrate our shared American values.
And I would say, Mr. Lacey, if as we move past this and it's reflected in the minutes, if there's something that doesn't align with what you provided or that we approved, that you just kind of catch that in the minutes.
Yeah, I'll get with you when
Mr. King?
I think Mr. Evans.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mr. Evans?
Just to be clear, what are we asking our teachers of with this? Because now we're going to claim a day. I want to make sure that we have a pretty clear message sent to our teachers. I don't want to throw them, kids show up, start asking the questions about what the day is. I would ask that our team prepare something for our teachers and staff to have prepared. So it's not just, the Wild Wild West on opinions. I'm sure there are going to be people and probably teachers that don't agree with this. There's parents that don't agree with this, I'm sure. And if they're sending their kids to school, they're going to obviously they're going to hear about it, or it's going to be that day. I just want to make sure that we prepare something that is sent out. It shouldn't be up to the discretion of our teachers. We shouldn't throw them to the wolves. In the event that they either don't agree or that there are parents that do contact them that are not okay with this. So that's not something to do necessarily with the actual, what we're looking at to pass tonight. I'm just asking that be something that we do as a board of education to prepare our staff.
Mr. King?
Yeah, I'll just piggyback off of that. I know another county and another district had a part of their resolution was they were calling theirs Charlie Kirk Day of Peaceful Civic Discourse, and it said on this day our students will receive grade level appropriate and state aligned instruction on the importance of these unalienable rights and core values of American life. Now I don't know if we have to put that in here, but I thought that was kind of cool. They're going to take that day, and part of the day they would have, grade level appropriate aligned instruction on American values and the First Amendment and things like that. So I don't know if that's something, I don't know if we need to add that in here, but.
Yeah, I don't know if we need to add that. And I will say, Mr. Lacey, one of, when you first requested the resolution, we said, hey, let's wait. One of the reasons that we thought about waiting, and then obviously October 14th would have passed before the meeting, is we know that the county has passed a resolution. We know the state's looking at a resolution. We know the United States House and Senate is looking at a resolution. I'll be curious to see if there's some direction from those entities that help define what that looks like. I don't know what that's going to be, but I do think, Mr. Evans, to your point, that that there be some direction at some point. So,
and so that would be great if if the instruction department or whoever wants to add to and do something like that. I think that'd be great. Also, just to go back to the point about school shootings, if we wanted to do something along the lines, some kind of resolution or proclamation recognizing the tragedies of school shootings, I would definitely be on board with that. So, I would welcome that.
Mr. Evans?
So my suggestion would be that I would like to make an amendment to the, and for right now, for tonight, take out, or we actually put back 2025 until we can have more discussion about what we want it to look like long term. I don't think we've had enough time to discuss what this would look like long term. And I think that needs to happen in a study session, and we need to get feedback. I think for tonight's sake, we can keep it for October 14th, 2025, but to continue it on without, like some of the things we just discussed, I think that needs more discussion.
So I have a motion to adjust the current policy that removes October 14, 2025 and says each year, I don't know the actual language, and reinstate October 14, 2025 based on Mr. Evans' suggestion. Do I have a second? Yeah, I think you can make an amendment because it's changed. But do I have a second? Ms. Brainy, second? All right. Any discussion?
So my question is just procedural. We already voted unanimous to make it each year. So it seems like someone would, from the prevailing side, would have to make a motion to rescind before we could take a vote on that. So.
I wasn't
Oh, okay. So that makes sense. Yeah. Okay.
So,
right.
So I mean, I think as a board we have the option of voting on this up or down. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So
You just want to make sure that we're following. And it seems like they're doing great.
Chairman, I kind of see this like when this goes to the curriculum or instructional, where we're going to send out. This is like Martin Luther King's assassination. This is our teachers take that day and address that in their classroom. I don't know that taking 2025, right, the year off, or putting that back in, we can get that information later. This is something we want to see acknowledged every year. So when those teachers provide, or when the curriculum department provides us, Frankie, what that might look like, I mean, we're going to have a chance to look over that and go, yes, this is it, this is awesome, but we're really not in the nuts and bolts. I don't see everything the teacher puts out for Martin Luther King Day. I see what's going on as classrooms recognize the importance and the value of that man. But I see no reason in changing that to keep it just as Mr. Lacey and we all agreed.
Ms. Johnson?
Ms. Brent has come. Ms. Brent, you're on.
Yeah, I would say one of the things that I'm supporting with this amendment is we did move pretty quickly on this. I believe it came up on board docs this afternoon, and I had one or two constituents who watched the board docs who got back to me, but typically I would have heard from a few more. And I think if we honor the 14th that's coming up, and then choose to be deliberate and intentional and to hear from our constituents on what we want to do moving forward, I think that gives them an opportunity to speak. I think it gives them an opportunity to be heard, to participate in the conversation around free speech and political violence and how our students and teachers want to be represented. So I think by giving Mr. Evans' amendment an opportunity, we have like the double side of being able to not miss October 14th that's coming up and still get feedback and hear the voice of our constituents on what needs to happen going forward.
All right, we have an amendment on the floor. So, Mr. Johnson, can we do a voice vote?
Yes, sir. Roll call, you mean?
And this is on the amendment?
Yes, sir. This is on the amendment to put October 14th, 2025 back in the resolution. With that, Ms. Hayes.
No.
Ms. Tucker.
No.
Mr. Lancaster.
No.
Mr. Evans.
Yes.
Mr. King.
No.
Mr. Hollis.
No.
Ms. Brennan.
Yes.
Ms. Stewart.
No.
Ms. Barnes.
No.
Mr. Lacy.
No.
Chairman Daniels.
No.
All right, motion fails.
All right, back on the main motion. Any more comments? All right, seeing none,
No,
let's
can
go
I
ahead.
just-
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Lacy.
I would just like to say something, like I said earlier, that this is not I guess a normal situation. It kind of, like I said, he was murdered in front of his children. After he was shot, these kids went to run to their father. It's kind of a blow that hits everyone. If it's, like I said, it affected the whole world. It affected our whole nation. All life is precious. Everybody's important. But, it's, in a sense, Charlie Kirk laid down his life for all of us to have free speech, that we could have open communications on college campuses and high schools. And you could kind of say he laid down his life for us to have freedom. And so that's why I would like to honor him of the life that he lived to serve us.
All right, don't see any more comments. I do want to say one thing. If you read this resolution, over the last year as a board, I know we've had some conversations that have gotten personal. I know we've had some conversations where people have lost their temper. I know we've had conversations where we haven't probably represented ourselves the way that we want to represent ourselves in front of the kids of our community. I think there's a problem in our society where we have gone from civil discourse, civil debate and discussion to hate. And I think that trickles down to our children. I was, I had the opportunity to coach kids in a number of different sports, and I'm around. A lot of these kids are middle school kids these days. And I was at a recent sporting event, and there were, in baseball, there were a number of Hispanic kids on some other teams, and I overheard some of the kids on, not the team that I was with, but another team, making jokes about I showing up. And in my mind, I'm thinking, where does a 6th grader, a 5th grader, a 7th grader hear stuff like that? Well, it's coming from the parents, right? And kids hear what their parents say, whether it's in the car riding home from church, whether it's in the car on the way to school talking to people on the phone making a joke that maybe is a joke to them, but the kids can't pick up that they're trying to be humorous in some way, even if it would be considered offensive to other people. I think that we, as a board, should use this as an opportunity to promote the ideals of what it means to represent the community, to disagree civilly with each other, and to respect each other's views, regardless of whether we believe in them or not. I know we've got elections coming up in this county, and it can be an ugly, ugly time on social media, snail mail, in conversations, knocking on doors, and I would just encourage us to try to be the example to others, the kids in our school, the parents of those kids, the businesses in our community that we want to come, because the kids that we're raising in our schools today are going to be the people that are sitting in our chairs down the road. And I hope that when we leave these seats at some point, that we can leave knowing that we've left this in a better place, and that the kids that follow us, the people that follow us, understand what it means to be a quality person in our community, and to set an example for others. So I would just encourage us to look at what happened and what can happen if we allow our emotions to take control, if we allow hate to dictate our actions, and to continue as a board to treat each other with respect, regardless of whether we always agree with whatever we're discussing or debating. So I would just encourage that for all of us as a board, and be the ones that the kids can look to and say, hey, you know what? Even when they disagree, they still respect each other. And that's how we should be within our schools as we continue to grow and become the future leaders of this country. And so with that, let's go ahead and vote. Mr. Johnson, can we please have a voice vote?
Yes, sir. Ms. Hayes?
Yes.
Ms. Tucker?
Yes.
Mr. Lancaster?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Hollis?
Yes.
Ms. Brink?
Yes.
Ms. Stewart?
Yes.
Ms. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. Lacy?
Yes.
Chairman Daniels?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Next item on the agenda is the lease that we just talked about earlier.
Motion to-
Discussion or action regarding a lease agreement with Sumner Physician Practices. Try saying that 3 times. Sumner Physician Practices. All right. I've got a motion by Mr. Lancaster, second by Mr. Evans. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is discussion or action regarding the utility easement for Tri-County Electric on Old Westmoreland Elementary property. Do I have a motion to approve?
I assume the director recommends this being approved.
Yes, it's moving a light pole. They just need an easement to move the light pole.
Okay.
It's good for what?
Are you okay with us moving the light?
Yes, motion.
All right, so we got a motion.
If not, you're gonna get more calls on anything else you've ever done.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Yes, thank you. Any comments? All right, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Opposed. All right, motion carries. All right, discussion or action regarding release of retainage for the North Sumner project. Motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Second.
Thank you. Second. Any comments, discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. On to unfinished business. Discussion or action regarding policy 4.3012, middle school athletics upon second reading. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Ms. Hayes, second. Mr. Hollis. All right, Mr. Hollis has a question. I assume you were seconding as well, right?
Well, I have
For
a
at least
question.
purposes of discussion.
This is a question for Jeremy.
All right.
I know the answer.
I asked the question last time. I think this was,
I clarified it.
6-minute basketball quarter.
Yes, that's
moving
correct.
it to
I
8 minutes.
I clarified it with our athletic director. He called several middle school principals. They said it's 6 minutes basketball quarters. The 8 minute are football quarters.
Okay.
I've been in our games, like, that's not happened.
Yeah, I played, last year they were 8 minute. I'm just saying JV was 6 minutes, varsity was 8 minutes for middle school basketball. If you look at it, 6 minute quarters, that's a 24-minute game. Why even, that's not even enough to get a sweat going personally, but I would propose that be moved to 8 minutes.
Second.
Well, but let me ask this before, I've got a motion, we'll vote on it. Is that Tennessee Middle School Athletic Association rules, or is that Sumner County?
Okay, if y'all can debate for a minute, I'll pull it up and look.
TMSAA
So
follows.
I've got a motion and I've got a second. Before we vote, let's at least make sure that changing that doesn't violate or cause any issues with Tennessee Middle School Athletic Association.
Second, is he making the amendment?
Yeah, his amendment was changed from 6 to 8 minutes.
Okay.
I support that unless it causes issues with this, because it is a sanctioned sport from a middle school athletic standpoint. And I'll even say, look, 8 minutes in football, you play Portland East and they're running the ball the whole game.
That's
they should get the
plenty
ball
of
like
time,
2
plenty of
times.
time
So,
for a middle school game.
yeah, so it makes for some fast games. I don't know. So anyway, let's get some clarity. And then obviously, I think if we don't get the answer, even if we pass this, we can bring it back in amendment if we need to. Basketball season starts.
About 2 weeks.
I mean, games start. I think they'll probably start when we get back. So, all right, Mr. Lancaster.
I was just going to say, refed a lot of games at the middle school level, and I've never had anybody say, well, board policy is we go by the rule. So whatever the rule is, I mean, you could just change it to say
Well,
whatever the TM.
Well, that's what I was thinking, we just change it to.
So that would be my amendment, is to, instead of saying 6 or whatever, say the TMSAA regulated rule.
Okay, all right, are you good with that?
Yes.
Good with- all right.
I would love to see somebody bring us a board policy.
Yeah, yeah.
When we're about to do a coin toss, say, hey.
Yeah, our parks,
They meant it's
our
first
parks
to
games are
fifth.
longer than
Yeah.
that.
And again, I don't know if maybe it's a maximum or minimum. They may have a minimum and it's 6 minutes minimum. And I don't know. But again, so we'll go with whatever. The amendment is now that basketball is based on Tennessee Middle School Athletic Association rules. Any more discussion on that? All right, seeing none, all in favor say aye. This is on the amendment.
Aye.
Opposed? No. All right, that carries. Now we're back on the main motion. All right, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? I'm sorry. This is,
Yeah, just going real quick. I just have quite a thought.
What if the sports associate, the Tennessee sports, what if it's 4 minutes?
it's not.
You know, okay. I just want to make sure.
Well, then
All
we'll
right.
come back and we'll amend it. Yeah.
That could be the
referee's playbook, not the-
Yeah, so. Mr. Lancaster's the referee. He may want it to be 2 minutes. I don't know. Maybe, but yeah, so absolutely. Yeah. If we need to amend it based on something really wonky, I mean, I can't promise there's not something really weird in our middle school athletic association rules, but we'll trust there's not. But anyway, all right, now, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, next item is discussion or action regarding policy 5.307, physical assault leave upon second reading. Motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Second. All right, discussion. Mr. Lancaster?
And this does have the updated language, right? That you brought. Okay, that's something I thought it did, but I just didn't look. So, all right, thanks.
All right. Any other comments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is discussion or action regarding amendments to the general purpose budget. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, I need a motion first, my fault. I got moving fast. All right, I'm sorry, Mr. King. Do I have a second? Second, all right. Any discussion? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Next item on the agenda, discussion or action regarding amendments to the general purpose budget. Do I have a motion? Mr. Lacy, second.
Federal budget.
Yeah, federal budget.
Second.
Second, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, seeing none, motion passes. Next item on the agenda, discussion or action regarding amendments. No, we just did that. Discussion of study session items.
Just a reminder, everybody, our next study session is post-fall break on October 14th. And we will be doing our magical journey through some policies and some other things that we got in store for you guys. So if anybody's got anything you'd like to add, let me know.
Can you repeat the October schedule, just so everybody's aware?
Just
Study
so
session
everybody's
is the
aware,
14th.
so we have moved because fall break is that first full week in October. The study session has been moved to the 14th. The voting session will be on its regular third Tuesday cycle, so that'll be
21st.
October 21st.
All right, perfect. Just want to make sure everybody was clear on that, Mr. Lancaster.
Is October when we normally vote on our calendar? Is that going to be on the October? Okay. I know that's always. And also, kind of going with calendar, but kind of not. Do we have graduation dates yet? I've already had people ask.
We can, Ms. Skinner and I'll get those out to you this week, or probably next week.
Can we push that out to the people? Don't, because
Yeah.
people have sent me, like, when can we, plan on vacation or not? And that's something. I'm like, okay.
We're gonna put out there, Mr. Lancaster has the secret.
All right, and then one more comment. This will be noticed appropriately during the October session on October 21st. We will have the director's contract extension will be presented for board approval. So just noticing the board again, I think we've noticed twice now. I mentioned at the last meeting, and we'll note it as required by law. So just kind of heads up, that'll be coming up on October 21st. Now, comments from board members, Mr. Lacy?
Sir, I'd like to just, you commented earlier about our SROs and how wonderful they are. I mean, our SROs are amazing. I can think of my kids' school. They greet greet the kids when they're getting out of the car. I've seen them serve food. You know, I've seen the kids come up to them and want to get a hug. And then I've been to like the Westmoreland football games, and their kids are coming up to them that are in high school that remember, you know, that some of the SROs that when they were in elementary school, and they still love their SRO. And it's just, like I said, I'm glad and thankful that they're there with their students. And like I said, all of them are precious for them being willing to serve their students. Last week, I got to go to Union Elementary's Monarch Butterfly release. That was my first one that I've actually attended, and it was really good, and it made me wonder why I missed so many in the past. But I actually took time from work to go be a part of it. And Friday night, I got to go to watch Westmoreland play White House. And it was a barn burner football game, and it was just incredible. Westmoreland jumped out in the lead in the very beginning, and then White House came back in the second half, and it was tied, went into overtime, and Westmoreland won by a field goal. It was just like David and Goliath, because White House is so much larger than Westmoreland, so it was really great to see Westmoreland get a win.
Florence?
Yeah, so I'll start off with football. I won't end with football, but this Friday night, just inviting any board members that would like to attend Portland Place Hendersonville. And at 6:45, we will be dedicating the field house to Mr. Glenn Gregory. So I know a lot of you served with him, and we're excited to be able to do this and recognize him. I also had the opportunity to spend some time at PHS with the FFA. This is really a partnership and collaboration with the elementary schools in showing sheep and teaching first graders. I think Clyde Riggs was there when I was there, and then Gateview Elementary. So when I think about also the partnerships within our community, I saw this really play out. Partnerships within our school systems, with the high schools and the elementary schools, but we also had, the mayor was there, the Chamber of Commerce was there, we had some civic leaders also attending, and so it was just a great opportunity, and the kids loved it, and it was a great learning experience. So I think everyone that put that together, Mr. Kirkham, that is just so passionate about what he does. And then again, continuing with FFA, Heyday is September 27th, supporting PHS FFA. So anyone out in the community, they have vendors. It's open from 10 to 3 p.m. and this is one of their large fundraisers. And then to just end, I could ditto the SROs. I see that when I'm in the schools as well. Just thanks for everything they do, and it truly is. They build relationships with these kids, and it's so important. And thanks to Mr. Daniels and Ms. Hayes for being willing to serve. That's I appreciate you and your efforts because that adds an extra load. So thank you for being willing.
Ms. Stewart?
Yeah, I want to ditto as well the SROs as the mama of an SRO. My son has been a good mentor to a lot of children. Parents have come up to me, they have just bragged, which, I'm proud, but he is a good kid himself, so he understands that kind of mentality. And the Soares family, lots of prayers. My heart just breaks for them. Kirk family as well. And as Dr. Langford said earlier, which kind of stuck out to me, that 99% of the time when you can sit down and you can talk about things, whether it be political or spiritual, anything, you can work stuff out. And I don't want to force anything down our teachers' throats that they don't want to discuss and all that, but it can be talked about. So just don't forget that. That was one of the things that my son always told the children, is like, just come to me, talk to me, we'll figure it out. And I think that helped a lot. So kudos to those SROs.
Charles?
I was just notified Station Camp Middle School beat Liberty Creek 18-6, so they will play the Beach, I think, for the county championship. So congratulations to them.
King?
Yeah, I'm going to bore everyone with a discussion about policy. And I have some things I want to enter into the record. I mean, I've done some research and on our tenure, non-tenure policy that we had on our agenda last month. So bear with me on this. I hope you can. I just want to share what I've learned. So last month we had that policy on our agenda. We were going to change the 5-day notification requirement for teachers where any teacher's contract is not renewed or if they're dismissed. State law requires they be notified no later than 5 days after the last instruction day. And so out of curiosity, I contacted the TSBA about this, and they advised me that if we had revised that policy, which is 5.2, the way we were about to do, to limit the 5-day notification requirement only to 200-day teachers rather than applying it to all certified personnel, we would be out of alignment with state law and expose the board to legal risk. Had we voted to make the change, we could end up in a lawsuit and would likely be found in breach of contract, placing this board in jeopardy of violating both the law and our contractual obligations. And so the breakdown, here's how it breaks down. Tennessee Code 495409 makes it clear that non-tenured teachers must receive notice of non-renewal no later than 5 business days following the last instruction day of the school year. The definition of teacher in this statute is defined by 495501, which says teacher is not just classroom teachers, but also supervisors, principals, the director of schools, and all other certified personnel employed by a local board of education for service in public schools, supported in whole or in part by state or federal funds. Now, our policy actually mirrors this definition word for word, and it applies, the definition of teacher applies to all certified personnel. So in other words, the 5-day non-renewal protection applies to every certified employee, whether they are on a 200-day, 220-day, 240-day, 260-day contract. It is not just limited to classroom teachers, but to all certified personnel. There's actually, the Attorney General of the state of Tennessee has affirmed this interpretation in a case from August of 2007, noting that both tenured and non-tenured certified personnel are covered by the statutory definition. We also have the continuing contract clause, which is 495401, and that requires that all educators and school personnel to be employed for the following school year must be assigned to schools by June 15th. These statutes all work together. If an employee is not renewed within 5 business days after the last instruction day, then by June 15th, they must be assigned to a school. To notify someone after June 15th, unless their position has been abolished, if they're notified of dismissal or non-renewal after June 15th, it's a violation of 495401 and a breach of the non-rule protections in 495409. This is why, in my discussion with the TSBA, they cautioned limiting our policy's 5-day notification to only 200-day employees, and because that would leave us vulnerable to legal action. If a certified coordinator, supervisor, or instructional coach, or any certified employee on a longer contract were dismissed or non-renewed after that statutory window, we could be sued, and based on state law, we would likely lose. So just the bottom line on this is state law requires all certified personnel, everyone who meets the definition of teacher under 495501 that our policy mirrors, word for word, must be given written notice of non-renewal no later than 5 business days following the last instructional day, and our local policy must reflect state law so we really cannot carve out exceptions. So like I stated in our meeting in August, that I was confused as to why this policy was even brought to our agenda. I mean, the last time it was revised was 1992. And I was confused. It just seemed like it's just suddenly appeared on our agenda for revision. And the question I had was, why do we need to change it? Because, and I mentioned this to Mr. Daniels, this policy protects teachers. To alter it so that a teacher could be notified of non-renewal or dismissal on the very last day of their contract removes a vital protection. And it leaves me wondering whether there's, I don't know, some plan to dismiss people after that 5-day notification window. And to tell someone on the last day that they will not be returning not only prevents them from finding new employment for the next year, it opens the door to abuse or vindictiveness. If someone wanted to be punitive, they could simply wait until that final day and then hand over the notice. That to me is unfair, and so I think we owe it to our teachers to provide the courtesy of the 5-day notification so they can plan their futures, protect their chances of finding employment, and move forward without fear of being blindsided at the end of the year. Thank you for bearing with me. Thanks, I appreciate it.
Mr. Evans?
First of all, when I think about SROs, my aunt has worked at Gallatin for a while, and she was really heartbroken. I think one thing that I want to make sure something that our SROs do that I think can't go unnoticed is that a lot of times they are changing the perspective of what law enforcement looks like with our students. And that might not just be in one spot or in another area, but I also think we're changing the student's perspective of law enforcement as a whole, but also it's encouraging them maybe to pursue that as a career path or as an option outside of school. So when you're engaging them like we are, I think that we're actually, and surprisingly, we're actually giving them a different side of things. So, and I saw that with some of the students that talked about him. So, just wanted to mention that. And I again, personally, I don't have a problem with the day. But I think we need to be realistic here. I think sometimes we've done this before. We sit up here and sometimes we say stuff about like a blanket statement about every person in Sumner County. We feel one way, but we can't sit up here and say that there are people that are not going to be. There are going to be people opposed to what we passed tonight. And we should listen to them. They should have a chance, just like we just passed, to listen to them and have a seat at the table to discuss their feelings with us as their representation. I just think personally when I signed up to be on the school board, it's like we're talking about schools and the kids and policy, and it was just, I know the county commission did it. I know like nationally there's things going on with approving these days. Personally, I just didn't know why it had to do with the school board. I think a lot of it was just to put us on record with how we feel about it, and that's fine. But as we walk away from tonight, I encourage that, again, there are going to be people that are supportive of this, and that's great. But I think there are going to be people that do not. And I think we do what we say. What we just put in writing, we live that. So as representation, we go and live that to all of our constituents. So,
Thank you. Mr. Lancaster?
Everybody have a safe fall break. Be safe driving to 30A.
Yeah, I didn't bring this up in the comments of that because I didn't think it really had anything to do with the resolution, but I do think anything that we can do to make kids aware or young people aware of learning how to debate, to speak their side in a civil way, I think can be a great thing. I know we're about to have the new Smith Center, and that's going to bring students in from, one of the things we talked about was bringing students in from various parts of the county and doing some unique leadership type things. I think that would be a great way to use some of the civil discourse ideas and framework. I also think if we ever figure out how we're going to get our student agenda, or student board or committee, that would be a good thing for them to talk about and see how they could, what their suggestions would be. But I just think, when I was in school at a younger age, we had, critical thinking practices, debate practices, things like that. And I think you still have that now, but it's more in specific classes that you take. But I think that's something that needs to almost be, at least the concept of it, universal. And, I just don't you may disagree with the person, you may disagree with the, you know, you may think, well, this is all political. I look at it as, I don't care what your belief is. If you disagree, you know, we should be able to talk about it. We should be able to disagree about it in a peaceful manner and a respectful manner. And I know some of the friendships that I have made were with people I didn't agree with. And it started out I was like, well, I'm never going to like this person because this person don't think like I do. And it makes me, usually it makes me stronger in my personal belief, listening to somebody else's side of things. But it also, you know, that's the whole aspect of critical thinking, which is one thing that has really become lost on us as a society, is, you know, we never listen to another person that we disagree with. We automatically stick to a headline view of something. But if you sit there and you talk to somebody and you actually piece out, like, what are they saying, what is their argument, and where does my viewpoint align with them, and where do I dissect away from them, and it causes you to strengthen your own belief and your own acknowledgement, but it also, you know, the mutual respect thing. There's nothing about that to me in a public education system that should be considered controversial. Again, I understand people we maybe disagreeing with it from because they think it like, oh, it's a political thing or it's a person that they might not have agreed with everything they said. I probably didn't agree with everything that he said on everything, but I do like the method that he used, and that I think that this can represent for us as a school system. Is like, we need to be able to teach our kids before they go to college, and especially before they go out into the workforce and everything else. One of the big tragedies of the world now is, you know, you say something and you can lose your job over it because you just don't think. And that's one of the lessons that I try to teach my kids out of the last week. I mean, there was tons of, if you're a parent of a teenager, the last 10 days, 2 weeks has been pretty educational as a parent. One, you know, yes, it's okay to disagree. It's okay to have civil debate. But the other thing is, there's things that if you're not willing to go in your employer's office and say, you know, you probably shouldn't put it on social media. And especially like kids that are getting ready for college applications, all of that kind of stuff is very important for students to know. As I tell my daughter, like, you can make mistakes at 14 that you can't make at 18, and just to be aware of that. And, you know, I just think there's a lot of good that can come from this, and I hope that we see that as a school system and as a group that is trying to better our future students, and not just while they're going to our school buildings, but after they leave and go out into their communities and their workforces. So that's why I'm fully on board with it. I think there's much more good that can come from it than anything, you know, any negative that can. So, thanks.
Ms. Tucker?
Yes, I'd like to give a shout out to our SROs as well. My boys had some great ones while they were in school, and even when I see them out at the grocery store, they're still calling them by name. You know, how's Dustin doing? How's Daniel doing? You know, and they're just phenomenal, and so thankful for them. So appreciate all that they do for us.
Ms. Hayes?
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, for all our SROs, we're so grateful for each of them. I have been praying God's peace and God's comfort for the Soros family. What a great loss for them. He was such a great guy. And I want to springboard off of Alan's comments, because some of the things he was saying. I think it's worth us passing this resolution. A board resolution, it's a formal statement adopted by the school board that expresses the board's position on a particular matter, a particular issue. I think this mattered. I think this is a teachable moment. It's a tool that can be used in our classrooms. How our students can have civil discourse. We can agree to disagree and do it without ugliness and hate. Teaching our students to defend their position. In communication, a large majority of communication, we think of it as talking all the time. It's not talking, it's listening. And you listen. Many times when you've watched debates, they've already formed their answer. They're really not even listening to the person they're debating. They are already in the attack mode and they're going after them. No, you're not really listening and then reasoning, critically thinking for your response to the person that you are debating. One thing that I admired about Charlie Kirk is that watching some of the podcast, and I watch his show, he welcomed people to the mic that disagree with him. And if the crowd, which was the majority of the people, the students there, they were Charlie people. And they were Christians and they were believers. And maybe they got a little rowdy. Somebody comes up looking different from them. He quietened the crowd. And he said, no, you're going to just be respectful. And the person would come up with their questions, their position. Charlie put the mic down and he listened. He didn't have it ready to just go at him. He listened. Then he would respond, and then it might be back and forth for a little bit. Charlie's heart is pure. And people that he didn't agree with, and people that might have said ugly things to him, he would say, listen, I'm praying for you. And I genuinely believe he was. You cannot argue with the impact that 31-year-old young man made. And Turning Point is spot on for the naming of his passion, his mission. Because I believe we're there. So, prayers for the Kirk family in these days of such great tragic loss. But I think this is something in our school system that our students, these are teachable moments and we can learn from them. So how do we best honor his life is to take this and be doing this in our classrooms. And the grown-ups, we need to learn to do better. I've been in classrooms. I've watched our students do great civil debate, facilitated by the educator in that classroom. It's being done in kindergarten, first and second, because I've been in those classes. And I'm on the mat with those students. And the teacher, it's a topic, allowing students just to express their feeling about this. What's their takeaway? The teacher never discounts that student's view, and other students start snickering or laughing, and she addresses that. No. You're going to listen to what they say because that matters. Now, what's your view on this? So it's happening at the elementary grades, and we're building on that. So we're going to continue to get better in our society, in our community, to do this better. Now, thank you for listening to that. HHS is having their big, the FFA, they're having their big pumpkin, mom's cornstalk sale. And it's happening September the 30th through October the 3rd, so right up to fall break. I'm thinking there was something else. I think that's it right now. But y'all have a great and safe fall break. What fun, and yes, if we see each other down the road, heading to the beach. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Brady got skipped her when we were going around. She's over there still on the phone, so I want to give her a chance if she's got any comments she wants to make.
All right, you're up.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I just want to echo my fellow board members that to Mr. Source, or Deputy Source family and friends and the JHS community and everyone whose lives he touched. You're in my prayers and my thoughts, and I am with you in what we mourn the loss of a man who made such an impact in our community. I also wanted to give a shout out to our White House High School Band of Pride. They have been racking up the awards over the last few weeks. Most recently, they got first place overall Class B, first place visual Class B, second place music Class B, second place percussion Class B, second place guard Class B, and fourth overall out of 18 bands. And they're going to keep on going, so let's root them on. And I would like to invite all of my fellow board members to a vocal music fall exhibition called New Beginnings. It is put on by our White House High School vocal music department, and it is going to be spectacular. It will feature our Nova singers, our Luminosity, and the new Eclipse group. These voices are amazing. It is Tuesday, September 30th at 6:30 p.m., and I hope to see you guys there.
All right, thank you. I'll wrap up. I've been thinking about, a couple words as I've listened to our board make comments tonight and the last couple of weeks, and there's two words that keep coming back to my mind, and that's everybody matters. I shared this story a number of years ago, back, I don't even know how long ago. I have 6 kids now. When I had our first 3 kids, we did foster care. And we had, one point, I think we had 7 kids in our house under the age of 7. Yes, it was a lot. The 4 foster kids we had were African American. I remember we were at Walmart one night, and I had 2 of the foster kids in my cart with, I think, my youngest daughter. My other 2 children were in the cart with my wife and 2 of the foster children. And I remember coming down around an aisle, and my wife was going down this way, and I was kind of circling around this way because got a bunch of kids, and it gets crazy. You're trying to grab as much as you can. And I remember seeing 2 women at the end of the aisle. And I remember overhearing one of those women say, looking at my wife, wonder how many baby daddies she has. That kind of always stuck in my mind a little bit. Like how quick we are to judge people without knowing their stories, right? And, I think about the kids in our community over the years, the kids in the surrounding counties that have taken their own life because they didn't feel like they mattered. The students in the school didn't make them feel that they mattered because of the way they looked, their race, their gender, what they believed, how they acted, how they felt, how much money they had or didn't have, political party they wore on their chest, even if they couldn't vote, the R or the D. And I know I talked a little bit about this earlier, about the way we can set the example for others, but I feel like we've reached a point where we judge other people as a society without knowing who they are. And we start making those decisions about who they are without getting to know them, without talking to them, without having those conversations. And it leads us to discount their ideas or their opinions or their life without taking the opportunity to possibly learn from them. Look around our county. Our Gallatin High School football team. We lost our quarterback. We've had a pretty good year, but we play 3-4 football games now, I believe, and I believe that 3 of those games against both county schools and non-county schools, we've had students in the student sections dressed in prisoner garb, as if Gallatin High School is, and I'm going to use the words that I've heard from people in our community. Gallatin's a ghetto school. I've heard that from students. I've heard that from adults. That's perception. So what would lead students to dress like that? Well, it's stuff they're hearing from their parents. It's the thought that those kids don't matter because they don't drive the same cars that we do, or they have a different upbringing than we do, or they don't have the opportunity to succeed in life that we do. We're making judgments without knowing these people, without knowing these kids. And I share that because I think about our SRO officers. I think about the other people in our school, the individuals that work in our nutrition departments, the custodians, those people that are doing low-paying jobs, that are doing the grunt work, that are cleaning up after kids puke in the hallways, have issues in the bathroom, that give them a hug when they're having a bad day, that they can go to and talk to the guidance counselors, the teachers in our school. They're the ones that are telling these kids that they matter and setting the example that everybody matters. And I challenge us to be more open to how people are and to their lives and their backgrounds and the things that they believe, because that's going to allow us to treat others as Jesus leads us to treat others, to love our neighbors even when we disagree. And so I challenge us to, as we move forward as a board, to remember those 2 words, that everybody matters, and to live by that, and to use that as the example that we set for our students, for our teachers, for our staff, and just others that we touch on a daily basis that are in our orbit, whether it's on social media that read the things that we post, hear the things they say, watch our board meetings, because we have an opportunity to show what it means to be the type of person that Jesus would like us to be. And I challenge us to live that example. So with that being said, thank you for your time. I appreciate all of you. Look forward to working with us through the next year. And we're adjourned.